I'm pretty sure you guys are getting tired of looking at me like this, but man, it's too daggone hot. I don't care what I look like. Hey, look what we got here in the shop. We got 20 gallons of hydraulic fluid, and I'm going to show you how a redneck rigs this up. So I was told that you have to fill the left side, and then there's a vent over there on the right side. Same kind of vent is on the left side. I just screwed that out. We've been through 3 different funnels and 1 extension trying to figure this out. And here's what I came up with. I'll show you guys. This is actually from, I believe, a washing machine. That's the drain line. I did take an air hose with the long tip right there laying, and I ran that back and forth and all around to make sure there were no fuzzies left in there. And then I visually inspected it. I just used the clamp that came with that, and then I took a bushing with a nipple and stuck the nipple up in there and put a hose clamp on it. And now we're getting ready to dump our hydraulic fluid right in here. So I'm going to set this camera up on the tripod and we'll start dumping some hydraulic fluid. Pop Gringo was supposed to be here on leak patrol. I got my pump installed. Everything is tight as far as I know. I left this thing sit, like I say, 5 years and haven't touched it. But now it's time to get busy again. So I can only hope that everything is right. So stay tuned. Here we go. All right, guys, it's actually later in the evening. We were out here earlier and we did a time lapse. I always have my GoPro Hero 7 on magic time lapse where it continuously records and just speeds it up automatically. But for some reason this time it wanted to do a standard time lapse, and I don't know what it was set on. I think it was set on every 30 seconds or 60 seconds. I'll show you a little clip of what that looked like. It didn't look good. So I'm back out here. We're gonna redo the time lapses for the tilt, the lift, and the pulley. And I lost the rest of the footage from out front. Sorry about that, but here we go. All right, guys, the first thing I want to do is I want to exercise this right here. So I have a small handle up there, and this is going to be the first thing that I exercise. Try to get some hydraulic fluid into the, I'll call it the, I don't know, torque converter. So here we go. I'm going to put you on time lapse again, jump in there, start it up, and then we're going to run the handle and see if this pulls together. These 2 halves should pull together. I know it's a little dark, but here we go. All right, guys, I hope you guys could see that. It did work. Now we're going to break this band right here, and we'll start tilting the unit and see if that works. Well, my leak detector is here. Pop Gringo is in the house. Dad, what do you got to say?
I got to say that this thing is looking up. It's really coming out good.
Good to have Dad out here. We had that little bout beginning of the year, and he doesn't come out much with the heat, but he's here tonight, and
I'm sitting in front of the fan.
He is that. All right, guys, so as you just seen, we ran the tilt, we ran the variable speed. If anybody has any experience with that, let me know. If I pull the handle forward, she'll change the ratio, but as soon as I let that handle go, she goes right back to slow. I always thought you had to push that back to make it go slow. So I don't know if I have a bad check valve in here that's not holding in between the 2. If anybody has any experience with a Bobcat M610, let me know about that. We still have the funnel hooked up. Right now, what we're gonna do, and I don't know where I laid that piece, here it is. So we did break one piece while we were building this thing. I'm going to tap on my screen here. We broke this piece right here. This is what they call a bell crank. The same gentleman that helped me with my pontoon boat, Lee, he went ahead and welded that up, welded that in. So now we're going to throw that on a drill press and drill a hole just about where the old hole used to be. I think I want to stay away from that edge a little bit if I can. And then that linkage will go from the pedal to this side, and then from this side back to the hydraulic cylinder. So here we go with that. All right, guys, I have a flashlight. I'm not sure if I can show you this. The linkage that comes off of this pedal goes down to that belt crank that we broke when we were tearing it apart. That's the piece that was welded that I showed you a minute ago. Let me see if I can get this. Hey, got the camera down in here. So from the bell crank back to the hydraulic valve itself, it's about 2 inches between the holes, and it was basically just 2 plates of metal that were drilled to fit both of those holes. That also got ruined in the process because I think we cut that in half initially trying to get it out. So I am in the process of making those 2 plates. I've put them together, I've rounded the ends, and now I'm getting ready to drill this end and then measure and drill that end to get the distance between the 2 holes correct. So here we go, we're gonna start drilling that. I'm not gonna show that process, but yeah, 1 plate will go on one side of that actuator, 1 plate will go on the other, and we'll get it all, you know, cleaned up, get all the burrs off, and here we go. All right, guys, so here is that linkage to go from the bell crank to the hydraulic valve. And it basically looks like a linkage for a chain, but that's kind of what was in there, and that's kind of what I made. I'm not going to clean it up right now. All I want to do is get that linkage moving so I can move it with my foot and run that boom up and down, and that's what I'll show you next. We're going to throw this linkage in, start it back up, run that boom up and down, and hope for the best. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm not sure if you noticed, but at the end of that time lapse, the messed up time lapse, where it shows the bucket sitting in the driveway and the Bobcat sitting back from it, that is because the pins that came with this thing, and this is literally what came with them, I cut them off to try to make that work a little better. Of course, that is not the proper pins to hold the bucket onto the skid steer, and again, I trimmed that up to make it work a little better, but they had that like wire tied to the bar, and it was ugly. So we went ahead and we made up our own pin, and that's what I came up with. So that is 1-inch steel that measures 4 inches across, and then we cut that and cut that on an angle. And this one here I just had sitting in there. That one is actually beat down in there, and as you can see, it sits down against and sticks out the bottom probably about 1 inch. Eventually what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to weld a bolt head somewhere around here, and then make like an L-shaped piece with a hole in it that fits on that bolt, and then I'll swing that out of the way, pull the pin out, and then when I beat that pin down in there, I'll just let that piece fall back down, and that, I'm hoping, will hold that pin in there. And I can guarantee you I'm not going to bend that pin. The only thing I may do is fracture it, but I doubt that too. So yeah, we're working on the pins, getting pins made up to hold that bucket on there so we don't drop the bucket off like we did. But yeah, it's a nice piece of steel right there. Here is tonight's project. This is actually a heat shield. This thing, I'll show you where it goes. We sandblasted it This is actually going to bolt right in here like that. And that's just a heat shield. There are two pieces that come forward, and then there's that black piece that fits over top, and that's where my seat's going to mount. But one of the problems that we have here is that is missing a chunk, and this is cracked and split. So we're getting ready to fire the welder up. We're going to weld that up, weld this in best I can, and then we're going to take that piece of flat steel and figure out where this mounts on those rear holes and center that up, and we're going to weld that flat stock to the bottom of this seat pan or the heat shield to reinforce that. So that's the next step. If you're ever welding on thin sheet metal, they sell these. I think I got this one at Harbor Freight, but it's just a copper paddle, and it's designed to go behind there. And what that does, that sucks the heat right out of that metal. So that way you don't burn the metal up, you actually weld it. So that's what we did. We put this paddle behind there and went ahead and threw a bead of weld on there. So now the only thing I have to do is grind that off. And then we'll check the other side, and if I need to, I'll weld the other side as well. The next thing we're gonna do is just do the same thing right here. As you can see, it's split there. We'll beat that in just a hair to line that up, and then weld that. Here we go. One step closer. Got the heat shield and the seat pan on. I don't have a seat yet. I think I'm gonna buy a brand new seat. Just need to get the measurements and everything else ready for that. The other thing is, I'm gonna have to take that back off eventually because the variable speed drive is messed up. If anybody knows anything about that, like I said earlier, please leave a comment and let me know what you may have known or found. I would take it to the hydraulic shop, but the last time I took something there, they gave me an itemized bill. It was 17 cents worth of O-rings and $350 worth of labor. I don't mind paying for labor, but if I can fix it myself, I'll just keep that $350 to pay my electric bill or something. So yeah, we got the seat pan on, and hopefully before this weekend, and I post this video, we'll have a seat sitting there, and then it'll just be a matter of getting my linkage fixed. Not fixed, but just correct. Right now I have Allen wrenches and nails and long bolts with all the linkage hooked up because all the pins were rotted, rusted, and no good. So we need to fix the linkage. Once we fix the linkage up, we can slide the floor pan in, and I think this job is done.